In the far reaches of space where stars blinked faintly against the endless darkness, the galaxy was in chaos. Worlds that once shone with vibrant life were now smoldering ruins. Entire planets had been consumed by a relentless enemy, machines, that moved without thought, leaving nothing but ash and silence in their wake. Entire fleets of alien civilizations had fallen. The survivors, scattered and desperate, clung to the hope that some help might come from the unknown corners of the cosmos. On one such fragile world, a small council gathered in a ruined chamber. Holographic images of burning planets and shattered fleets floated in the air, casting ghostly light over their worried faces. "We cannot fight them alone," said Terrell, a leader with deep blue eyes and scales that shimmered faintly. His voice trembled with both fear and determination. "Every plan we have tried has failed. If we do not reach out, we are finished." A murmur ran through the council. The room was tense. Most of the species there had never considered asking another world for help. Pride, history, and distrust had kept them isolated for centuries. But now, desperation forced their hands. A decision was made. They would send a signal into the vast unknown, a cry for help. The technology used to send the message was unlike anything humans had ever imagined. It was a blend of quantum communication, subspace modulation, and 1,000 unknown codes. But the message was simple in purpose. We are in danger. We are begging for aid. If any world can hear us, please come. The signal traveled for light years, moving faster than anything the council could see. They did not know who or if anyone would answer. Days passed, weeks. Then, on the edges of known space, the signal was detected. Back on Earth, in a high-tech listening station tucked deep inside a mountain range, a young scientist named Alara stared at her screen. Her fingers hovered over the console as she squinted at the lines of data scrolling endlessly. This isn't a normal transmission," she whispered. Her colleague, Dr. Malik, looked over her shoulder. "It's not from Earth, obviously," he said, his tone cautious. "But the patterns, they're repeating, structured, intentional. Someone is trying to communicate." Ilara's heart raced. It's not a natural phenomenon, and it's not any human signal. This could be the first contact. Real contact. For weeks, the station worked tirelessly to decode the message. Every attempt revealed more questions than answers. The symbols were alien, unlike anything in their databases. Yet through complex algorithms and persistence, they slowly began to translate the desperate words. A plea for help from a civilization facing extinction. The news reached the highest councils on Earth. Governments debated whether to respond. Some argued it could be a trap, a threat in disguise. Others felt the moral weight of the decision. Humanity had long been confined to its own planet, wary of the stars. But here was a voice calling from across the galaxy, weak, trembling, yet defiant. A cry for help that demanded attention. Meanwhile, in the void of space, the alien survivors waited. They expected silence, as they always had. The galaxy was cold, indifferent. Many of them had already accepted the end of their worlds. But then, to their surprise, a response came. Not from a vast empire of shining fleets, but from a small blue planet orbiting a sun in a quiet star system. Earth had answered. The alien species, many of them fragile and ethereal, stared at the incoming human signal with disbelief. The humans did not announce their arrival with fanfare or grandeur. There were no overwhelming displays of power, no glowing ships descending from orbit. Instead, there was a quiet, almost primitive declaration. "We have heard your cry. We will help." The council of alien leaders whispered among themselves. "Who are these creatures?" asked Terrell, his voice shaking. "We have never seen their kind among the stars. They are monsters, perhaps. Dangerous." Indeed, humans were unlike any species the galaxy had known. Their bodies were soft compared to the armored exoskeletons of many planets. Their weapons were crude by galactic standards, and yet there was something in the message, a raw determination, a promise backed by action. The humans did not claim to be gods or kings. They did not promise miracles. They simply said they would come. Back on Earth, preparations began immediately. Space agencies from every continent worked together in a way never before seen. The human fleet was small, certainly, no match for the alien machines, but it was resilient. Ships were reinforced, weapons upgraded, and crews trained tirelessly. Earth itself had been through wars, natural disasters, and countless challenges. Humanity had survived against impossible odds before, and it would survive again. Alara and Dr. Malik watched the progress with a mix of awe and anxiety. "Do you think they're ready for what's out there?" Malik asked. Alara shook her head slowly. "I don't know. But I do know this. Humans never give up. We fight, even when the odds are impossible. Maybe that's exactly what the galaxy needs." As Earth's fleet prepared to depart, the Alien Council observed quietly. They did not fully trust these humans, nor did they understand them. Yet, hope, a feeling long lost, began to stir. For the first time in years, the survivors felt the faint possibility of salvation. The journey would not be easy. Light years separated Earth from the desperate planets. They would encounter dangers unknown, navigate treacherous space, and face enemies stronger than any humans had imagined. But still, the signal had been answered. And in that simple act, a new story began, one that would change both humanity and the galaxy forever. On Earth, people watched the night sky, unaware of the lives depending on their planet's courage. Children imagined stories of distant stars, while scientists worked tirelessly to ready ships that had once been only dreams. Every launch, every repair, every calculation was a step into the unknown. And somewhere in the void, the aliens waited. Their hopes fragile but real. They whispered among themselves, "The monsters of Earth, they have come." The first steps of humanity into the wider galaxy were not heroic displays of power or glory. They were quiet, determined, and relentless. But even in this calm, the galaxy began to notice. A species that had survived millennia of challenges, that had endured every disaster imaginable, was stepping forward to face a crisis far beyond their home world. And so, a cry for help went out across the stars, and Earth's monsters answered. Little did anyone know this was only the beginning. What awaited the humans and the alien survivors would test the limits of courage, endurance, and heart. But for now, the first light of hope had ignited. The monsters of Earth, as they would soon be called, were on their way. The human fleet left Earth in silence, their engines cutting through the dark emptiness of space. Ships of all sizes glided past one another, each carrying men and women trained to face the unknown. They were not the largest fleet in the galaxy, nor the most technologically advanced. Their vessels were built on ingenuity, determination, and lessons learned from centuries of surviving disasters on their home planet. But what they lacked in power, they made up for in courage, adaptability, and sheer human stubbornness. Among the crews was Captain Aaron Voss, a man whose name had become known in Earth space programs for daring missions that defied logic. His face, lined with years of experience, carried a calm intensity. He had seen storms destroy ships in orbit, solar flares obliterate satellites, and hostile encounters with rogue asteroids, yet nothing compared to the unknown waiting in distant galaxies. "This is it," he said quietly to his second-in-command, Lieutenant Mara Lin. "Whatever's out there, it's counting on us. Let's make sure they know humans don't quit." The fleet traveled through the void for weeks. Communications between ships were constant, a web of orders, updates, and quiet reassurances. Humans were not alone. Earth had sent only a small part of its fleet, but the signal they carried had reached the alien survivors, and when the humans emerged from hyperspace into the alien sector, the response was immediate. From the remnants of shattered fleets, fragile alien ships approached the human formation. Many were delicate, built for speed and intelligence rather than combat. Their skin glowed faintly in the dark void, and their voices, when they spoke, were more like music than words. They were scared. They had never expected anyone to answer. Their call, certainly not a species from a planet so distant, so strange. Are they going to attack us?" whispered one young alien hiding behind a reinforced panel in their small ship. Another shook its head. "No. They are different. They fight, yes, but not like the others. They fight to protect, not destroy." The aliens watched as the humans maneuvered their fleet with confidence. No hesitation, no fear. Their ships were scarred from previous missions, yet they moved with precision and speed. Some of the smaller alien leaders murmured nervously. "These humans, they are monsters, aren't they? Savage, untamed. Indeed, in every way, humans seemed primitive compared to other species the aliens had known. Their vessels were not elegant. Their weapons lacked the sophistication of galactic tech. And yet, there was a power in them, a raw, unpredictable force that made even the most cautious aliens feel hope for the first time in years. Captain Voss contacted the alien leaders. His voice was calm but firm. "We are here to help. Tell us what you need and we will do our best. We may not be perfect, but we don't turn away from those in danger." The aliens exchanged uncertain glances. Many had heard of human history. The wars, the plagues, the disasters. They knew humans had survived every kind of hardship their own species could only imagine. And yet, they could not forget the stories told in whispers, that humans could be violent, dangerous, and unpredictable. These were not the peaceful scholars the galaxy often revered. These were survivors, fighters, monsters as some called them. After careful discussion, the Alien Council revealed the full extent of the threat. The machines that had destroyed their worlds were not mere weapons. They were intelligent, adaptive, and relentless. They consumed everything in their path, ships, planets, even life itself. No species had been able to stop them for decades. They had anticipated that the humans, so far away and isolated, might be unprepared. And yet, the humans had come. Lieutenant Mara Lynn listened in disbelief. "They think we're monsters?" she asked quietly. Captain Voss chuckled softly. "Maybe. But if they mean monsters who fight without fear, I'll take that as a compliment." The humans and aliens began to coordinate. Unlike the other species, humans did not rely solely on technology or complex war machines. They studied, adapted, and improvised. They trained their crews to think quickly, to take risks, and to turn every disadvantage into a potential advantage. The aliens watched in awe as humans devised strategies that were unorthodox but effective. One small, alien ship piloted by a young being named Lyra hovered near a human vessel. She could not understand the humans' methods at first. "They are reckless," she whispered to her companion. "They do not follow the careful plans we always use. They risk everything." Her companion nodded. "But they survive. They find ways to win where we would fail. Maybe this is why they came." As preparations continued, the first scouts were sent toward the machine-controlled zones. Humans led the way, fearless and determined, where other species would have retreated. At the first sign of danger, the humans pressed forward. Their ships, though smaller, used unpredictable maneuvers, and their crews were trained to respond to situations in real time. In one skirmish, near a broken asteroid field, humans faced a small group of the enemy machines. The aliens held back, uncertain. The humans, however, engaged with unshakable confidence. They dodged attacks, struck at weak points, and turned the enemy's logic against them. The aliens watched, amazed, as the humans fought not with overwhelming force but with creativity, courage, and determination. After the battle, Lyra whispered in awe, They are not like any species I've ever known. They fight like predators, but for something more than survival. They fight for life itself." Captain Voss gathered his crew. "Remember this," he said. "We are not perfect, we are not invincible, but we are humans, and humans never give up. We adapt, we endure, we survive. That is our greatest weapon." The aliens began to trust the humans, not because of their technology, but because of their spirit. The very things that had made humans dangerous on Earth, their stubbornness, their courage, and their unpredictability, were now their greatest strengths in this war. Even as the humans prepared for the larger battles ahead, Earth watched from afar. People on the planet followed news of the fleet's progress, cheering each victory and mourning each loss. Humanity had always dreamed of reaching the stars, but now their dreams were tested by reality. They were stepping into a galaxy filled with unimaginable danger, and yet, for the first time, humans and aliens alike felt hope. The Alien Council, once fearful and despairing, began to understand the truth. Humans were not just visitors. They were a force unlike any other in the galaxy. The monsters of Earth had arrived, and they were exactly what the survivors needed. As the human fleet prepared to move deeper into enemy territory, Captain Voss stood on the bridge of his flagship. He looked at the stars stretching endlessly before them. "We didn't come here to be heroes," he said quietly. "We came to survive. And if survival means helping others along the way, then so be it. We are humans, and humans do not walk away when someone calls for help." The aliens whispered among themselves, finally understanding. These humans were different. They were fierce, unpredictable, and unstoppable when driven by purpose. They were, in every way that mattered, monsters, but not the kind that destroyed. Monsters who answered a cry for help. Monsters who fought for life, for hope, and for the future. And so, the first true cooperation between Earth's humans and alien survivors began. Plans were made, strategies discussed, and scouts prepared. The humans were ready to face the machines, the aliens were ready to follow, and the galaxy held its breath. Because somewhere out there, in the dark corners of space, the enemy waited. They had never faced beings like this before, and they were about to discover that the monsters of Earth were nothing like anyone had ever seen. The dark void of space stretched endlessly before the human fleet, broken only by distant stars and drifting asteroids. Every ship vibrated with tension, every crew member aware that the coming battle could decide the fate of countless civilizations. The humans were no strangers to danger, but nothing in Earth's history had prepared them for the machines they now faced. These were not ordinary enemies. They were cold, precise, and unstoppable, programmed to consume everything in their path. Captain Aaron Voss stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the approaching cluster of enemy machines. Unlike the humans, the machines did not hesitate, did not fear, and did not pause. Their metallic forms gleamed faintly in the starlight, angular and unyielding, moving as if part of a single, coordinated organism. "Scanners confirm hundreds of units, Captain," reported Lieutenant Mara Lynn. "They're heading straight for us. Their patterns are unlike anything we've analyzed. Very fast, very adaptive." Voss nodded. "Prepare the fleet. We're going to show them why humans never give up. Spread out and keep moving. Target weak points and stay unpredictable. Remember, they can calculate patterns, but they can't anticipate chaos." The aliens accompanying the fleet trembled in their fragile ships. They had never witnessed combat like this. While humans had fought wars on their own planet, and some had even ventured into space, this was the first time their tactics were being tested against a foe that lacked fear or hesitation. One young alien pilot whispered to her companion, "Do they know what they're up against? They're going into a swarm of machines without heavy weapons, without reinforcements. They're reckless." Her companion shook their head. "No, they're humans, and humans do what others cannot." As the first wave of machines closed in, the humans struck. Ships darted in and out of asteroid fields, weaving unpredictably. Smaller craft engaged in daring maneuvers, drawing the machines away from vulnerable allies. Unlike any strategy the aliens had seen, the humans did not fight in lines or rigid formations. They improvised constantly, learning from the enemy's reactions and adapting faster than the machines could predict. Captain Voss's voice cut through the chaos. "Focus. On the joints and circuits, avoid frontal collisions, use speed, use cover, use everything we've got." Explosions lit up the darkness as energy weapons met metallic armor. The machines responded instantly, adapting to each tactic with cold precision. Still, the humans did not falter. They sacrificed small ships when needed, drawing the enemy's attention while larger vessels attacked vulnerable points. Every move was calculated, yet every calculation allowed room for human instinct, daring, and creativity. Lieutenant Lin watched the battle unfold from the command deck. "They're learning," she muttered almost to herself. "Every time we hit a weakness, they adjust. Every time we change tactics, they hesitate for a fraction of a second. That's all we need." Nearby, one alien observer gasped. "It's incredible. They are reckless, yes, but they are brilliant in ways we cannot fully understand. They see opportunities that we would never notice. They are monsters in the way they survive." The clash lasted for hours. The human fleet was smaller, but they turned every disadvantage into a weapon. They moved faster, adapted quicker, and refused to retreat. Where other species might have panicked or waited for reinforcements, humans pressed forward, striking again and again. During a critical moment, a massive machine broke through the defensive line, threatening to reach the alien ships. Without hesitation, Captain Voss piloted his vessel directly into the path of the machine, drawing its attention. Smaller human ships flanked the enemy, striking at its exposed circuits. The machine faltered, unable to predict the humans' unpredictable assault, and ultimately collapsed in a shower of sparks. The aliens could hardly believe their eyes. They fought it off," one whispered. "With such small forces." Voss's comms crackled. "Remember this, everyone, it doesn't matter how strong the enemy seems. If we fight together, adapt together, and refuse to give up, nothing is invincible. Humans survive. We endure. That is our advantage." Even as victory seemed possible, the human fleet paid a heavy price. Ships were lost, and brave crews gave everything to protect their allies. The humans mourned their losses but did not let grief paralyze them. Every fallen comrade strengthened their resolve. Unlike the machines, humans felt emotion, and it became their fuel. Anger, determination, hope. They used these to drive themselves forward, to fight harder, to protect not only their own, but also the fragile aliens who had trusted them. After the first battle, the alien leaders approached Captain Voss cautiously. "Your species, you are unlike any we have ever known," said Terrell. "You are terrifying in your persistence. You fight not because you have to, but because you choose to. That is remarkable." Voss gave a small, tired smile. "We survive because we have to, and we fight because we care. That may seem strange to some, but it works." The humans began to coordinate with the aliens in new ways. They taught them to exploit weaknesses, to think in ways the machines could not anticipate. The aliens, inspired by human courage, began to regain hope. Their own ships, once hesitant and cautious, now moved with purpose, guided by humans who refused to surrender. On board the flagship, Voss reflected on the battle. "We've shown them the humans are here, and that we will not back down. But this is just the beginning. The enemy will adapt, and we must adapt faster. We must be ready for anything," Lieutenant Lin added. "They'll learn from this fight. Next time it will be harder." "Yes," Voss said, eyes on the stars, "and so will we. That is the way of humans." Meanwhile, in the heart of the alien fleet, children and families watched from the relative safety of their smaller ships. They had seen fear, despair, and hopelessness for years. But now, after witnessing humans fight, they dared to hope. They whispered among themselves, "Perhaps there is a chance. Perhaps these monsters of Earth are our salvation." The human fleet remained vigilant. Each day brought new challenges, scouting for enemy positions, rescuing stranded alien ships, repairing damaged vessels, and planning the next strike. The crew slept little, ate quickly, and trained constantly. They were exhausted, yet their spirit remained unbroken. Humans were not invincible, but they were relentless. And that relentlessness, paired with creativity and determination, made them formidable beyond imagination. The aliens began to see a new truth. Humans were not heroes in the traditional sense. They were survivors. Fighters. Monsters, yes. But monsters who refused to leave anyone behind. Monsters who answered cries for help when the galaxy had already given up. As the fleet prepared for the next engagement, Captain Voss addressed his crew. Remember this. The enemy is strong, adaptive, and dangerous. But we are stronger in ways they cannot understand. We are unpredictable. We are creative. We care, and we fight not just for ourselves, but for everyone who cannot fight for themselves. That is the difference between humans and the machines. That is why we survive. The alien observers nodded silently. They had watched countless species fall to the machines, yet humans, flawed, scarred, and persistent, had survived where others had failed. They began to whisper among themselves, telling stories of these strange beings from a distant planet. The monsters who fought not for glory, but because they could not ignore suffering. And so, the first true clash had been fought. Humans had proven their courage, their ingenuity, and their endurance. The aliens had learned to trust them, and the machines had learned to fear them. But the galaxy held darker challenges ahead. The first clash was just a beginning, a test of human spirit and willpower. The battles to come would be larger, deadlier, and more unforgiving. Yet one truth had been made clear. Humanity would not give up. The monsters of Earth had arrived, and nothing, not even the most advanced machines, could break their resolve. The stars stretched endlessly before them, cold and unforgiving. And through that darkness, the humans pressed forward, ready to face whatever the galaxy could throw at them, because monsters of Earth did not wait. Monsters of Earth did not surrender. And monsters of Earth always answered a cry for help. The galaxy, once silent and lifeless under the machine's shadow, now felt the stirring of hope. The humans had shown what courage, creativity, and determination could achieve. Yet every victory came with a cost. Every battle left scars, not only on the ships and fleets, but on the people themselves. Captain Aaron Voss stared at the stars from the bridge of his flagship. His face was weary, his hands clenched around the controls. The first waves of enemy machines had been repelled, but the losses were heavy. Several human ships had been destroyed, crews lost in moments of fire and chaos. The alien allies, while inspired, had also suffered. Fragile vessels and inexperienced pilots had not survived the first encounters. Lieutenant Mara Lin approached. The captain. "They're asking us to strike again, Captain. The enemy is regrouping near the outer sectors. If we wait, they'll strengthen, and more worlds will fall." Voss nodded slowly. "I know, but every move we make costs lives. We need a plan that keeps both humans and aliens alive. Sacrifice is sometimes necessary, but it must be calculated." The human fleet gathered near a cluster of asteroids. From this vantage point, scouts reported a concentration of enemy machines, moving to capture a small alien colony. The colony had barely survived previous attacks. It was weak, vulnerable, and without intervention, doomed. The Council of Alien Survivors debated. "We cannot send all our ships. Too many are damaged," said Terrell. "We may lose more than we can afford." Captain Voss stepped forward. "Then we lead. We will go first, draw their attention, and protect your people. You follow our tactics, trust our judgment, and you may survive." The aliens hesitated. They had watched humans fight. Savage, fearless, and precise, but now the humans asked them to follow into the heart of danger. Finally, necessity overruled fear. They agreed. The battle began with a roar. Human ships darted among the asteroids, weaving unpredictably, striking the machines in ways that no other species could anticipate. Smaller alien ships followed cautiously, imitating human maneuvers, learning from every move. Explosions lit up the void as the humans attacked relentlessly. Yet the machines adapted faster than ever before. Some human ships were caught in sudden attacks and destroyed. Each loss hit the fleet hard, the crew mourning but refusing to give in. Captain Voss moved from station to station, giving orders, encouraging the survivors, and keeping the fleet Coordinated. Every command mattered. Every choice could save or cost lives. Lieutenant Lin piloted a damaged ship through the chaos, striking at exposed joints of enemy machines. She saw her comrades fall and felt the weight of responsibility, yet she did not waver. "We cannot stop now," she whispered. "We fight because others cannot. We endure because hope demands it." The humans' courage inspired the aliens. Ships that had once hidden in fear now moved forward with determination. Alien pilots imitated human tactics, daring maneuvers that defied their instincts. Together, humans and aliens formed a fighting force unlike anything the machines had ever faced. Despite the strategic brilliance, the cost was undeniable. The alien colony had suffered partial destruction. Innocent lives had been lost. Human ships were heavily damaged. The fleet limped forward, victorious, but exhausted. In the aftermath, the alien council approached Captain Voss. "Your species, you risk everything, every life, for others," said Terrell. "We cannot comprehend your ways fully, but we see it. We feel it. You are monsters, yes, but you are also saviors." Voss nodded quietly. "We do not claim to be heroes. We do what is necessary to survive, to protect, and to help others. That is all humans know." Back in the human fleet, crews repaired ships, tended to the wounded, and remembered the fallen. Every life lost was honored. Every victory was tempered by sorrow. Humans were not invincible. They felt pain, grief, and fear, but they endured. That endurance, that willingness to keep fighting despite loss, became their greatest weapon. Across the galaxy, the story of the humans spread. Other species, long hiding from the machines, began to emerge. They had seen what courage looked like, what determination could achieve. Inspired by the humans, they began to join the fight, offering ships, knowledge, and hope. Humanity had not only survived, they had rekindled the galaxy's spirit. Yet the humans knew the war was far from over. The machines would not stay defeated. They would return, stronger, smarter, more relentless. And when they did, humans would be ready to face them again. They would fight not because they wanted glory, but because survival demanded it. The cost of victory was high, but the price of surrender was far greater. And so, with determination burning brighter than ever, the monsters of Earth prepared for the battles ahead, ready to endure whatever challenges the galaxy could throw at them. The final confrontation loomed. The galaxy, once silent under the machine's relentless advance, now held its breath. Humans, having proven their courage, adaptability, and endurance, were at the forefront of a new alliance. Alien civilizations, inspired by the monsters of Earth, had rallied behind them. Yet the enemy was formidable, a force without fear, mercy, or pause. Captain Aaron Voss stood on the bridge of his flagship, gazing at the enemy formations stretching across the void. "This is it," he said to Lieutenant Mara Lin. "The final push. If we fail, everything we've fought for, every world, every life, will be lost." Lin nodded. "And if we succeed?" Voss smiled faintly. "Then we show the galaxy what humans are, not gods, not invincible, but survivors. Monsters who answer when others would hide." The fleet moved forward, human and alien ships side by side. The humans led the charge, striking first with unrelenting precision. Their tactics were unpredictable, their courage unshakable. The machines adapted quickly, but the humans adapted faster, finding weaknesses and exploiting them with ingenuity born of necessity. Explosions erupted across space as the first wave of machines was shattered. Smaller alien ships followed the humans' lead, striking in perfect coordination. The alliance fought as one, guided by the humans' relentless drive. Captain Voss piloted his ship directly into the heart of the enemy formation, drawing attention while smaller ships attacked vulnerable nodes. Lieutenant Lin executed daring maneuvers, dodging enemy fire and striking critical circuits. Every member of the human fleet gave everything, refusing to retreat, refusing to surrender. Amid the chaos, alien leaders watched in awe. "They do not fight for power," whispered Terrell. "They do not fight for glory. They fight for life itself. That is why they are different. That is why they endure. The tide of the battle turned in favor of the humans. The machines, precise and relentless, were no match for creativity, courage, and unpredictability. Every strategy the humans employed worked because it could not be anticipated. Every risk they took, every sacrifice they made, strengthened their resolve and inspired their allies. Yet the victory came at a cost. Human ships were damaged, crews exhausted. Many had fallen, giving their lives to ensure others survived. But even in loss, humanity's spirit remained unbroken. They mourned, honored the fallen, and pressed on. That resilience became a beacon of hope for the galaxy. At the climax of the battle, humans and aliens together struck at the machine command hub, a massive structure controlling the enemy forces. The hub fell, its destruction sending shockwaves across the enemy fleet. The machines, now leaderless and disorganized, began to collapse one by one. Captain Voss breathed heavily as he watched the final machine fall. "It's over," he whispered, not because the battle was easy, but because the relentless fight of humans and their allies had finally won. The aliens approached cautiously. "Your species, you are monsters, yes," said Terrell. "But you are monsters who answer the call, when everyone else would hide. You have saved us, you have saved the galaxy." Voss shook his head. "We are not invincible. We are not perfect. But we survive. We endure. And when someone calls for help, we answer. That is all humanity has ever done." News of the humans' victory spread across the galaxy. Other civilizations, long hiding from the machines, began to emerge from the shadows. They had seen what determination, creativity, and courage could achieve. The monsters of Earth had inspired hope, proving that even in the darkest times, life could endure. Back on Earth, people celebrated cautiously. They knew the cost, they knew the losses, but they also knew that humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors but as survivors, protectors, and allies. In the quiet aftermath, Captain Voss stood alone on the bridge of his ship, staring at the stars. The galaxy had changed. Humans had changed it, not with overwhelming power, but with endurance, courage, and a refusal to abandon hope. Lieutenant Lin joined him silently. "What now?" she asked. Voss smiled faintly. "Now. We keep watching. We keep learning. We keep surviving. Because humans do not rest, and if anyone calls for help, we will answer. Always." The stars stretched endlessly, full of possibility and danger, and in that vast expanse, the monsters of Earth had claimed their place, not as gods, not as rulers, but as the unyielding force that answered when others could not. The galaxy would remember them forever, humans, fierce and unpredictable, monsters who fought for life, hope, and the future of all.